Coming up on Tech News Weekly, how Facebook's drive for growth bypasses its social responsibility and impacts. Also, iFixit tore down the new Mac Pro with cheese. Why the Amazon Echo is still great years later. Dumpster diving for Amazon sales and the risk of photo roulette. All that and more coming up next on Tech News Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Weekly, episode 112, recorded Thursday, December 19th, 2019.
This episode of Tech News Weekly is brought to you by DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform that scales as you grow. Get started today for free with a free $50 credit at do.co/twit.
And by Privacy.com. Stop using the same credit card number everywhere. Use Privacy's virtual cards to protect your financial information and get a free $5 credit that you can use on any online purchase just for signing up today. To learn more and sign up in under a minute, go to Privacy.com/TNW.
Hello and welcome to Tech News Weekly.
Yeah.
Woo. This is the show where, of course, every week we talk to and about the people making and breaking the tech news. I am Mikah Sargent.
I'm Jason Howell. We're celebrating something today. As you can see, another day. Also happens to be Micah's birthday. But don't say that too loud. Shh. Sorry, I just did.
If you don't acknowledge it, it can't hurt you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Jason Howell.
First story here. Facebook and scale go hand in hand. It's enormous at this point. That much is obvious. But still, as any publicly traded company would be, Facebook wants to scale even bigger. And for a company its size, what does that actually translate to for the employees who work there? Joining us to talk about this is the triumphant return of Alex Kantrowitz from BuzzFeed. It's great to have you back, Alex.
It's good to be back, and a happy birthday to Micah.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
So you spoke to a number of current and former employees at Facebook who stressed Facebook's ongoing commitment to growth, above everything else. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, this is sort of a thing that came up over the course of my reporting on Facebook, where I started hearing from people, look, if you're not growing your products, you're going to get moved off of them. And then what it ended up showing me was that there's a whole system involved in the company where actually growing projects, users, time spent, monthly active businesses, conversations becomes a core part of people's review. And their review is tied to their rating. And this rating that they get, anything from doesn't meet expectations to redefines expectations, is tied algorithmically to their compensation. So there's not much discretion for a manager to decide how much somebody at Facebook is going to get in terms of a raise once they give that rating out. So that sort of leads to this monomaniacal pursuit of getting a good rating, which means people work to grow their products and they pay little attention, in some cases, to the consequences. And this is the source of the scandals for Facebook. At the end of the day, it comes down to culture. They've made a few tweaks, but as my reporting showed, I think there's a little bit more work that they need to do. If not on the way that they rate people, the way that they communicate this, down to the rank and file, which still takes growing products and moving a metric very seriously.
Yeah, the metric comes up. Of course, you mentioned something in your article about impact, which is such like a corporate internal buzzword. We're rating you on your impact. What exactly does that mean? What is impact? Impact on the business side of things, or is that coming down to numbers of some sort? Like what is driving this impact, and why is that so important for Facebook?
That's a great question. I mean, Facebook is making some changes to this, but for a long time and still, employees interpret impact as moving that metric. So they sit down at the beginning of the 6-month planning processes with data scientists, and they say, how much should we be able to grow this product, given what we know about how products grow in the Facebook ecosystems? They've been doing it for 15 years. And so they just aim to hit that metric. I mean, one of the metrics that we sort of uncovered was monthly active businesses, which was an internal goal for the Facebook Pages team. And monthly active businesses was the metric, and that metric was tied to impact. So this is what they were going to be rated on. And they obviously needed to grow the number of monthly active businesses. So instead of trying to do this in a healthy way because these product managers were so obsessed with growing the metric and hitting their impact goal. They would send businesses all manner of weird notifications, just hoping the page administrator would log in once over the month, which would make them a monthly active business. So that's like one sort of kind of funny or frivolous example. But of course, like if you're judged based on how you grow, you can imagine that all these other things that we're seeing, fake news and outrage and irresponsible growth of Facebook products, still boil down to the same system.
So when you're talking about impact, like based on the metrics that you're talking about, kind of like driven by what is the success of the company, and then you end up kind of coming out to a more macro view and realizing that the impact of Facebook's internal structure like this has dramatic effects on what's going on a social level. Like at what level within the company were you able to identify where that external impact actually comes into play? Because it really kind of sounds like for a lot of the people that are working there, based on your reporting, that really is very minimally considered at a time when maybe about it. It definitely should be paid more attention to.
Yeah, I mean, I think Facebook internally is definitely paying more attention to this stuff than they were ahead of 2016, before like they had the Cambridge Analytica scandal and then a whole group of others. But I think it might be helpful to take a look at the differences between Facebook and Google sort of illustrate the answer to your question.
Yeah.
So at Google, as we know, there's tons of internal social networks where people just debate things ad nauseum, whether it has to do with Google or not. And there is no metric that they're trying to hit. So Google feels more cohesive. It feels more like a place where you could talk about anything and the company really cares about its impact on the world. But when you have, and Facebook has its own internal social networks too, but when you have this metric-driven review system, you tend to not have the same flowing conversations as you would in a Google. So I would say something like Google, everybody starts caring about this stuff. Facebook, they might care, they might think about it, but there are times where this metric gets the rank and file, in particular, so driven to move it that they won't really consider it back. Now, of course, when you get to the level of Mark Zuckerberg and his lieutenants, this stuff, the impact on the world matters a lot because they see the repercussions of their work firsthand, whether it means being called to Washington or having to answer for the latest scandal. But where that might be the driving factor for them, if you're on the ground and you're trying to get that rating, that will be your North Star in many cases.
Yeah. Now, obviously, Facebook is ginormous. There's probably a word that's larger than ginormous, is what Facebook would actually qualify as. And Facebook realizes this. Many times they blame what ails them on their massive size, just saying, well, look, at this size, it's impossible to control everything, to keep it all, keep all the problems at bay. Talk about how that kind of excuse balances with this drive for scale. Like on one hand, they're saying the scale is the problem. On the other hand, they're saying the scale is the most important thing in the world. So I don't know. It's at odds with itself.
I think you nailed the contradiction. There's definitely a contradiction there. Like if you're Facebook and you're using your scale as an excuse for why it's difficult for you to clean up your products, you can't be pushing people to grow those products as part of their review. Like it's got to be one or the other. I mean, one of the things that I talked about in my sources is there an optimal number of times that people should be opening Facebook throughout the day? I mean, Facebook would like that number to be as high as possible, but for us, maybe 1 or 2 times a day as opposed to 20 would be the best number. And so the question is, for me, how do you square this, right? Like Facebook's obvious business goals, and then there's the psyche of people, and Facebook can entice us to open more and more. So where is that balance? And then so when it comes to its problems, is Facebook doing a good enough job keeping that balance in mind when it then goes out and argues the fact that like people must love this and they're using it so often, and therefore it's hard for us to keep up with all the activity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Alex, appreciate you taking time to talk with us about this. Excellent article, great source, a great look into kind of like what's going on behind the scenes and really understand kind of what's driving Facebook behind the scenes, assuming that Facebook is striving to do the right thing to affect some sort of social positive change outside. But the proof isn't always in the pudding as far as that's concerned. So I think your article did a really great job of illustrating that. Alex Kantrowitz from BuzzFeed.com. Alex, have a great holiday. Thank you for hopping on today.
Happy holidays to you guys, and hope to see you in 2020.
All right, sounds good.
So much.
Take care, Alex.
So coming up, we get to pull apart a Mac Pro.
We do?
Well, we live vicariously through iFixit, which pulled apart a Mac Pro. So
close second.
Yeah,
Close second.
something like that. But first, this episode of Tech News Weekly is brought to you by DigitalOcean. Now, DigitalOcean offers the simplest, most developer-friendly cloud platform. It's optimized to make managing and scaling apps easy with an intuitive API, multiple storage options, integrated firewalls, load balancers, which are very important, and so much more. DigitalOcean is trusted by over 1 million developers, and they make it simple to launch in the cloud and scale up as you grow. So whether you're running one virtual machine or 10,000, they've got you covered. You can spin up a virtual machine in just 60 seconds or less. There are standard, general purpose, or CPU-optimized configurations, which provide flexibility to build, test, and grow your application. Now, DigitalOcean, this is super cool, has over 2,000 open source tutorials to help you stay up to date on the latest open source software, languages, and frameworks. So you're not only going to be going there and building things, but you're also going to get a chance to learn. And, if you need that reminder, that refresher, then it's there too. You can modernize your cloud infrastructure. You can do that fast with DigitalOcean's Marketplace, which has a diverse catalog of over 100 pre-configured one-click apps. The first one is CloudBees, which I just want to check out because it's called CloudBees, for goodness sake. But there's also Docker, there's GitLab, there's Node.js, which has a special place in my heart, Ruby on Rails, LAMP, and so many more. Now, DigitalOcean offers simple, predictable pricing, which if you've ever done virtual machines, you know how important predictable pricing is. Because when you get those things spinning up and you get a bunch of people visiting your site or your service, and suddenly you're paying a bunch of money, that's no good. Well, DigitalOcean keeps it simple, keeps it predictable. You can always know what you'll pay per month with a flat, industry-leading pricing structure, and included at no additional cost, you get 24/7, 365 world-class support, you get monitoring and alerts, you get 99.99% uptime SLA, you get team accounts, you get full DNS management, and you get access to those 12 global data centers. Now, DigitalOcean is on a mission to simplify cloud computing so developers and their teams can spend more time building software that changes the world. Head to do.co/twit today to sign up and receive a free $50 credit. That's do.co/twit for a free $50 credit. DigitalOcean, designed for developers, built for businesses. Thanks so much to DigitalOcean. All right, I've got my fingers ready to pull apart a Mac Pro.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'm so excited. Okay, we're not going to be doing that, but.
See, I thought you bought the top of the line one just for this episode.
I said, Leo, I need $60,000 and I need to use it on a Mac Pro. And he said, no.
I need $60,000 and a block of cheddar cheese, please.
We'll see. Kyle Wiens is here from iFixit to talk all about the Mac Pro teardown. Kyle, hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hey, guys.
Oh, my goodness, look at you.
There it is.
Oh,
this
my
is it.
goodness.
I've got it right here.
Oh, wow.
Isn't she a beauty? Look at this.
Oh, man.
Beautiful.
I mean, it really is. It looks like a jet, basically.
It is sleek. I mean, you imagine, if you hadn't actually seen the fans running, you'd think that you could use the fans to take off because they're so big, but they actually run pretty slow.
Oh, okay. So let's get into things. My first question for you is, how did you, iFixit is usually super fast to get these different devices and start doing the teardown. Was there a plan in place for getting the Mac Pro? Did you know you were going to do a Mac Pro teardown? I think sometimes people like to get a little bit of that inside baseball look at things.
Yeah, we knew we were going to do it, and it was just a question of how quickly can we order one. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're doing the same thing everybody else is. We're on the website. We're reloading at midnight or whenever it goes on sale. Sometimes if you use the iOS app, the iOS Apple Store app sometimes gets you in a minute or two earlier than the website does.
Oh, there you go. Pro tip for folks out there. In fact, that's anytime it's iPhone ordering time, I'm definitely on the app, making sure I can get one there.
We have most of us use Android, so like we've got like the few people that have iPhones have kind of the hot ticket phones, and usually like we're all racing to get an order in, so we'll like order 5 and then figure out what the earliest order number is and cancel the other 4.
Oh, wow. Okay. So let's talk about that next. What is the sort of spec for this Mac Pro? I'm assuming you didn't go for the like 60K version.
Yeah, no, we just got the base model. So this is a mere $6,000 sitting next to me. Plus tax. 6K. Plus tax.
Oh yeah, right, tax. It's too bad that that's not a tax-free purchase because you're doing such a great service.
I spent more on this computer than I did on my car by a good margin.
Oh my goodness. So let's talk about it. iFixit, one of the great things that you folks do is at the end of every article, you get to see the little animation as we decide how repairable something is. And Apple, I mean, you go and you look at AirPods Pro teardown and it's laughable.
Right. There's no way to fix an AirPod. There's no way to recycle an AirPod. They're just disposable. Chuck them in the trash.
Which is a bummer. So do we have to chuck the Mac Pro in the trash when we're done with it, or can we?
Absolutely not. This is a machine that is designed from the ground up to last. And maybe Apple has learned from the fact that they can't get around to releasing new Mac Pros very often. So they said, well, if we're going to have one hardware design, this thing is going to have to last a long time. And I'd be pretty confident this computer is going to last 10 plus years. So if you're trying to find a way to justify your $6,000 and up investment, part of how you could think about it is amortizing the value over a long period of time.
Well, you're talking about 10 years. My Mac Pro, man, when did I buy that? I bought that sucker in 2008.
You got a Mac Pro, the trash can?
No, so this was 2008. This more closely resembles this.
Yeah, the cheese grater Mac, the original cheese grater Mac.
Yes, the original cheese grater Mac.
Cheese grater.
I mean, that was 2010-ish, 2009, somewhere around there. And it's still, it's old, but it's still rocking. So this thing better be rocking 10 years
Well,
later.
I can confirm this one grates cheese better than the old one.
All right. Before we go any further, I should also specify iFixit is a sponsor on the network. This segment is not tied to that. Like we had no responsibility or anything. We were just fascinated with the fact that A, you got the Mac Pro, and B, you actually took cheese to the cheese grater because
you have to.
Why the heck not? So is this sharp cheddar? Is it medium? We got to know all about this cheese and how this went.
So if I could do this again, we this is very inexpensive, like low grade cheddar, and I think that a sharper cheddar would have worked better. Yeah,
a sharper cheddar works better.
And if you're gonna do it, I suggest getting the cheese a little bit colder than we did.
Oh my goodness! You can't pair a $6,000 machine with $2 cheddar. What are we doing?
Yeah, we ran out of money.
Oh, now I get it. Yeah.
Still had to make that from an employee's lunch that they brought in. That's basically what it was.
I did cheese? After we did this video. I made a sandwich out of that cheese. So.
Oh, okay. That's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. I had that nice after production taste to it. It's kind of tangy.
The tang, the aluminum tang.
Yeah.
I love the aluminum tang.
It tastes like burning.
Oh God. So
it's like cash.
Oh yeah, exactly. Cash burning. Well, let's talk about the internals of this beast. I mean, aside from being a machine that lasts, it's a machine that is meant for adding and subtracting different devices, which, traditionally you get a MacBook Pro like the one that I have here, and you open this thing up and it's like, where can I put a new thing of RAM? How do I add a new SSD? Well, I head to iFixit's website and look up the guide if I can. But in some cases, you can't do that. So this machine is like pop and drop, right? You pretty much
absolutely
whatever you want in it.
Well, and it's fundamentally upgradable. And that means, that's really important for the Mac ecosystem. The fact that Apple has a product that is upgradable means that their OS X team has to support random graphics cards that people could drop in, right? Now there's going to be a lot of pressure on Apple to support NVIDIA. There is going to be an ecosystem of aftermarket cards that are going to be plugged in. There's going to be all kinds of software and driver support and bugs that they're going to have to work out. So this, with the previous model where they had said there is no internal expansion, that limited the amount of work that the software team had to do. Now that the software has to support an upgradable machine, there's nothing stopping them from leveraging that work with other machines.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Is there such a thing as too easy to take apart, too easy to repair?
No,
probably not in your mind.
I wouldn't. I would say no. I mean, at the point that it impacts functionality, right? If you make it so easy to repair. Actually, a good example of this, the Fairphone 2 was so easy to take apart. Everybody was taking it apart all the time, and it was so much fun to open up that eventually you would accidentally break it from repeatedly cycling that. So I don't think that's going to happen with this thing, but it definitely. I mean, it's got the big on the top. There's the big slot handle that's really satisfying, and then the top lifts off. So I wouldn't be worried about too repairable. I think what is really interesting about this, obviously it's upgradable and everybody's talking about the technical capabilities that it gets you. But they went above and beyond. This thing is actually, I would say, almost more upgradable than a typical tower PC, or at least faster to upgrade.
Okay.
They've done little details, like they've got labels where you can't see the number here, but it's coded. And then we've got these handy little latches for removing things. So they've all of the modules in here. The speakers, there isn't a cable that plugs the speaker into the main board. Instead, it just slots in and it snicks in place. And they've got pogo pens that are connecting it. So this is the kind of repairable design that we've seen sometimes in some LG phones and Fairphones and others. We haven't seen Apple do a modular design like this, and it's really fantastic to see.
Yeah, I saw the PCIe slots are just a switch.
Yeah, wow.
I'm curious, is this at all do you feel like this is at all in response to Apple's tradition of being a little bit less repairable for the sake of functionality and design, or is this just simply like when you're looking at pro machines, this is what you want? Because I'm curious. This is sort of runs contrary to Apple's design process in the sense that it is so repairable. But then there are some things that's like, oh, I see how that's very quote unquote Apple. But did it need to be, this open, this easy to do? And is that kind of the standard when it comes to folks who are needing a machine like this?
Well, I think it's important not to conflate Apple with lack of repairability. Apple, there have been some designs that have had this a trend, right? So there's been a design trend inside Apple recently, where things have been integrated and non-repairable. But that's not true to Apple's DNA the last 30 years. That's just been something that they have recently done, maybe due to constraints, maybe due to lack of time, lack of prioritization. But they're a fantastically talented design team, and when you give them the opportunity to prioritize repairability, they knock it out of the park. They do a fantastic job, like they did with this thing.
Gotcha.
Did you have a chance to tear apart the wheels to see why they cost $400?
We didn't get the wheels. What we can tell you is that you can, if you want to make your own wheels or get some hardware store wheels or whatever, you can. It's just an Allen key to get the feet off, and so you can swap it out. So if you're feeling like you would really like a mobile Mac Pro, but you would like to spend the $400 on RAM or something else, go for it. There should be. I imagine we're going to see some 3D printed adapters and then some off the shelf.
This is a customization option right here for all the do-it-yourselfers.
I'm worried it's going to affect my warranty, though. Yes, I installed skateboard wheels on my Mac Pro. Can I still get Apple Care Plus?
So let me tell you about the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, which does not allow them to void the warranty if you do things like that. So let's say you buy a brand new bling-in Corvette that you'll probably pay less for than you pay for this thing, and you put aftermarket rims on it. Those rims do not void the warranty on your Corvette, and adding custom rims or wheels to this thing won't either. As long as you don't damage the device in the process of installing it, your warranty's good to go.
That's good to know. I just got a Corvette today, and I was thinking about adding some new rims to it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for the Corvette. I appreciate that. What a nice gift you gave me.
What can I say? I'm a really good co-host.
You are a really good co-host.
Merry Christmas.
Nearly cried. Anything surprise you? Well, that's kind of the big one, the big question at the end. Anything either surprise you or maybe something that, as sometimes you'll see, well, we're not quite sure what this chip is yet. We're going to look into it. Anything surprise you or confuse you or confound you?
No, from a thermal perspective, I think everything is reasonable. It's interesting. There's a USB port on the inside that is specifically designed for people that use like Avid, and it comes with a hardware dongle for authenticating the software. So that's a unique feature I hadn't seen on very many desktop towers. But I would say overall, the most surprising thing is the attention to modularity where it was not necessary, where it's just the right thing to do, where you got the power supply is easy to remove and swap out. The speakers are easy to remove and swap out. The fans are easy to remove and swap out. that attention to detail for repairability is not necessary to accomplish the day one needs that pros have. It's all the kinds of design features that I think are important across every product, right? Everything out there should be modular. It should be repairable. And Apple is clearly demonstrating they've thrown down the gauntlet, and the Mac Pro design team has said, look, we can do it in this form factor. I'd like to challenge Apple's other design teams to do that with some of their other products.
Gotcha. Now, if you take everything out of the inside, can you use it as a weight bench?
Sure. Yeah.
Excellent.
I mean, it's actually relatively light. I mean, this kind of cool chassis, right? The way that the handles are part of the structural elements. That's an elegant design feature in it, and it minimizes the overall amount of material. It'd be interesting to see how this weighs compared to the previous cheese grater, but I think it's a fair amount lighter.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kyle Wiens, thank you so much for joining us, for telling us all about the new design. And I hope that you can afford some sharp cheddar in the future.
Maybe next time use Parmesan. Just
next time. I think so. I think that's a good call.
Yeah.
If people want to follow you online, see your work and all that jazz, where can they do so?
We're iFixit.com and join the community. If you've got a technical question or a hardware challenge that's been getting you stuck, get on iFixit Answers. Our Q&A forum is a super friendly place to solve hardware problems.
Awesome. Thank you, truly. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kyle. Good to see you. Take care. All right, up next, the ghost from TNW Past joins us to talk about her problematic fave, as she puts it. We'll leave you in suspense trying to figure out who that is. But first, this episode of Tech News Weekly is brought to you by Privacy.com. You don't use the same password everywhere, so why use the same card number when you shop online? With Privacy.com, you get a brand new virtual Visa or MasterCard number for every purchase that you make online with just one click. Thing is, it's super easy. You simply download their browser extension from the Chrome Web Store, or they also, of course, have Android and iOS apps. And you link your virtual cards to your U.S. checking account or your debit card. That way you can freeze and unfreeze cards and set spending limits per charge. You can also set those per month, per year. With Privacy.com's virtual card, you never worry about being billed twice or upgraded without your consent. So there's no need to worry about forgetting to cancel your subscriptions or free trials ever again, because everything has its own specific card account number. Refunds work even if the card is closed or happens to be paused at that moment. The security of your data is at the core of what Privacy does. It's right there in the name. Your virtual cards are locked to a merchant, so you don't have to worry about changing your card everywhere if one happens to get hacked. You're going to get a decline email or push notification if a hacker tries to use the card anywhere else. They're also PCI DSS compliant and are held to the same security standards as your bank, so sensitive information is secured using military-grade encryption. Information is encrypted using split-key encryption with partial keys held by separate employees. Now, currently on their free personal plan, you can create up to 12 cards a month, secure, merchant locked, and single use. And now Privacy just launched 2 paid versions. There's Pro and Teams. Pro costs $10 per month. That gives you access to everything that is included in the free personal plan. Plus, you get cash back on all purchases, 36 cards a month, and more security and privacy features baked in. Teams, on the other hand, is for those who own a small business or happen to be in charge of a team. That's $25 per month. And that gets you access to everything that's included in the Pro version. Plus, you get a dedicated account manager, access to 60 cards a month, and transaction limits that are tailored to your business needs. Privacy believes customers should have full control of their data, so they provide their customers access to transaction data via a webhook API, and they support 2-factor authentication. And oh, by the way, Micah's been using them for years and totally loves them.
I do so much.
So there you go. Protect your privacy and your money with virtual cards from Privacy.com. To learn more and get a $5 credit off your first purchase, just visit Privacy.com/TNW. That's Privacy.com/TNW. Don't forget to check out their Pro and Team versions while you're there. And we thank Privacy for their support of Tech News Weekly.
It's time.
Is it?
Oh, my goodness.
Who is it?
The ghost of TNW Past. It's Megan Morrone.
Oh,
I can't help but say it with the Oprah voice. Hi, Megan.
I love the Oprah. Hello. Also, Gilbert's here. He's back there on the couch. I don't know if you can see him, but he's having a snooze.
So sleepy.
He's covered up by the lower third, but that's okay. He deserves his privacy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, privacy.
Micah, it's your birthday, I heard.
Maybe it is. It might be. Yes. That is the thing that's happening today. Thank you so much. That's why you made sure to have your doggo in the shot.
Yes, exactly. Sleeping.
I appreciate it.
Now you can sort of see him back there.
Yeah. Hello, sleepy dog. Okay, you're here for a reason, and it starts with an A and ends with a... Oh, God.
You just did it, didn't you?
I did the thing.
You just went there and did it.
I did the thing I was trying not to do.
That's pretty funny.
Honestly, Megan, I'm with you on it being a problematic fave. So you wrote this article called Alexa is my problematic fave. And you kind of went back to the beginning of this device and talked about how, I didn't know this about you, but at one point you completely said no Amazon in my home, in my heart, or in my mind. Can you talk a little bit about why that is? Because I think it's a fascinating story.
Yes. Well, this was the end of 2014, and I'd noticed that the toy stores in our town had started to shut down, and I presumed that was because Amazon was where we were all buying our toys. And also, I had bought a toy for one of my kids, and it had not arrived on time, even though that it was promised to arrive on time. And so I had to deal with that, and there was so much, even back then, there was so much to be concerned with Amazon. We already knew that their, employee practices were very terrible. So I thought, I am just going to stop using Amazon. I canceled my Amazon credit card. I canceled my Prime account. And that lasted a pretty long time. I'd say like maybe 2 weeks.
Longer than any New Year's resolution.
Yes, it did. So that actually coincided to the time when I started at Twit. So that was beginning of January 2015, and started back at Twit. I'd been there earlier, but started back as a host. And that was also when they announced the Amazon Echo, the first one, and I had to have it. So I upped my Prime subscription again, and I still have it right here.
Oh,
my
look,
favorite.
there it is. Oh,
I turned it off.
Brand new still.
It does.
Yeah. So what was it about that first horrible Echo ad that sold you on this device? I rewatched it because you linked to it, and I watched it start to finish. And man, that is such a cringe ad.
Oh,
but apparently, because I remember watching it back then, and we were like the video itself, of course, was very cringy, even when we first saw it. But that didn't I remember walking away from the video going, okay, that's weird. This thing's never going anywhere. And I don't know if it was because of the cringeworthy acting or if it was the product itself, but it was just so out of the blue.
Yeah.
Really took everybody, I feel, by surprise. Meanwhile, now it's kind of ubiquitous in the technology world. So what was it about this that you were like, okay, I got to get in on this boat?
Yeah, I think it was partly the weirdness. I encourage everyone to watch it with sound at their leisure because it's just weird. And it was back then, too. But I think that just the idea of, I have a family. I had 3 kids. I have 3 kids, still have them, but they were younger and needed me more back then. And just the idea of being able to just have this magical device at my fingertips at all times was just really exciting to me. So yeah, and it was also a time where I was reviewing technology, so I thought it would be a great thing to talk about. Yeah. And it was a weird time too, because I don't know if you remember, but that was right after the Fire phone. That was like late 2014, the Fire phone, and it failed spectacularly. And so everyone was kind of like, Amazon, we're done with hardware from you. So that at that point, that's why I really wanted it, because I usually want the things that other people don't think are going to be good.
I get that. Now, John won't let me, but I'd like to pour one out for the Fire phone, but I can't do that.
Did you have a Fire phone, Micah?
No, but I always thought it was a cool, stupid thing.
Remove the cool from that sentence, and you're right.
I always thought it was a thing.
It was definitely a thing. It was a total failure.
So the other thing that you kind of mentioned is the fact that the original tower, which you have, and I actually have one right now playing music for my dogs while I'm not there. Listen, if I play music, then they don't hear all the people outside making a lot of noise and they don't get upset by it. So that's why there's music playing at my house right now.
I learned something new about you today, Mikah.
That I play classical music for my dogs so they can become brilliant and they will live forever because they are immortal. Anyway, aside from that, I still have my original one, and you kind of talked in this article about the fact that you don't necessarily need to upgrade. I've added more versions of the Echo to my home, but I haven't had to get rid of the original one, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I think that was sort of the crux of why I wrote this piece, because that was so amazing to me. Like, I mean, in that time, I've probably had 5 or 6 different iPhones, maybe 6 different iPads, like a million different Bluetooth headphones. You know, we just upgrade our technology so fast and so quickly. And I know you just had Kyle on. And so he is part of my inspiration in this. Just like, God, I love the devices that you don't have to upgrade all the time. And Amazon has said that that's part of their design. Like they don't plan their devices in terms of planned obsolescence, as other hardware makers are accused of. You know, that everything updates through the software. It gets better every year. There are more, more skills. It gets better, I'm sure, at violating my privacy. So
Undoubtedly.
So that's where the problematic part comes in. Yes, I realize it's listening to me, and I know I can go and delete those recordings, but it is something that in the back of my mind, do I really want to love and talk about a device, recommended device to everyone that is potentially a huge privacy nightmare for everyone.
Yeah, and you mentioned in your piece that around the holidays is when, a lot of people think, at least the last few years, think, oh, well, I'll just get one of these for so-and-so. They don't have one yet. But you make the point that, like, maybe there's a reason that somebody doesn't have one yet. Maybe they actually don't like these aspects that you're talking about right now, or they don't feel comfortable bringing a microphone into their house. It just made me realize I totally, this year, bought a Google Home paired with a smart light, like a package from Google for my parents. I never asked them if they wanted it. So we'll see.
Oh, that's kind of exciting.
Well, so that's another thing they do, and they've been doing, and Google especially has been doing it. They'll package it with stuff. So we had another article on 10 from Owen Williams, who wrote that, it's easy to buy one accidentally because you're buying something by accident because they're just throwing them in. Like,
here, have a free Echo Dot.
Earbuds. Yeah. But I think that you can assume that if anyone on your holiday list doesn't already have one of these devices, that means that they don't want one. I'm sure they've all heard about it and they've made the choice. So don't give them a fruitcake. They're just going to give it to someone else.
I was about to share that. This is my favorite. Amazon Echo devices are the new fruitcake, an unwanted gift that we re-gift to others who probably also don't want one. I may have applauded at my desk as I was reading that line. That's a very good line. There are a couple really good lines in here, some real gems. So you've got to read this piece for sure. What, besides the tall Echo Tower, what other Echo devices do you have in your home, or ALEXA-enabled devices do you have in your home? Do you have a clock or anything like that?
I have the Dot. I have several Dots. I have Dots in right here on my desk. This is actually this one I use in my bathroom. Not to share too much information, but that's kind of my thing.
There's no camera on it.
Exactly. And I listen to music and podcasts in the shower on it. And I have one at my desk. And then we have the Echo Show, the one with the screen downstairs in the kitchen. And that's really helpful. And one of my 3 children has the Echo Dot that I gave him in his room. The other 2 were like, no, thanks, Mom. I'll pass. And that's fine.
But I'm curious to know, like, why did they pass? What, like, did they give you a reason? Is it just not cool at school to have one of these, or are they worried about privacy, or what's the reason?
I think they're worried about privacy. I think they're planning some sort of coup in the home, in their house.
Right. That's why I gift these so that I know who in my family is going to betray me.
Right.
And so, you've got to come up with a new method. Maybe like a stuffed animal with an Echo inside.
Camera, yes.
Yeah.
That twerks?
Yeah, but
The twerks.
Possibly.
Yes. The twerking bear. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have the Echo Auto too, but
Really?
I haven't. Yeah, I haven't really used it. I hooked it up in the car, and we share the car between my husband and my daughter, and somebody just disconnected it.
It's
Again,
the worst
I think
thing Amazon's ever made.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, it was $25, which I think that's why I bought it. Which I'm not saying. Hopefully, Kyle isn't listening. Kyle Wiens isn't listening to this, but yeah, I mean that's part of why we buy so many of these things, because they're cheap.
Yeah.
Really inexpensive.
Speaking of, there's a hands-on tech review that I did of the Amazon Echo Auto that you should totally check out. If this was YouTube, I'd say, and the link is here, so click on it. But that's not what we're doing. So anyway, you can check that out and see how I said basically what we just talked about, that it makes no sense, because if you have a modern smartphone, you already have a device that can do routing and things like that. So I'm not surprised that someone disconnected it. I don't have any other ALEXA questions. Do you have any other questions, Jason?
What's your favorite color, Megan?
I'm like, I have some questions for you guys.
What do you have? Is the first one, how dare you?
Yes, exactly. No, I think it's an interesting device, and yeah, I think we've said enough about the Amazon Echo. But yeah, my big question for you is, how much do you miss me?
Oh, so much.
Kind of like too much for this
we both have long
view.
arms. Yeah, here, you do your arm that way. I'll do my arm this way.
Basically about this much.
Yeah. You see that?
It's sorry.
Off the screen.
The widescreen view is not large enough to
you need to
possibly encapsulate how much
20 by 40 by 1. Just kidding. I don't know what resolutions are.
That's one thing. Like, once you stop being a podcaster, people stop constantly giving you, accolades and telling them how great you are. So just be prepared for that.
Oh, okay. But that's never going to happen. I'm going to podcast until I'm like 90.
Oh, he says it's got a shot to
apply
show
anything.
this.
Let's see. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, there we go. So it's about this much.
The
Megan.
table length.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit wider than this table that you sat at for years.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Oh, my
All right,
goodness.
see, this is how
So
much we miss you, Megan.
Oh, all my favorite people are there. Hi.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
God.
right.
Here we go. Okay, one more time.
Okay, Bert came in.
Look at that.
Sorry, video or audio listeners.
Yeah.
We literally have almost
You gotta
every
watch the
employee
video
at Twit in here holding hands to demonstrate how much we miss you, Megan. And we really do
I've
miss
done
you
my
a lot.
exercise for the day. Thank you for that, Megan.
See what you've done, Megan? You've made us all miss you again.
Oh.
Well, I can come back. I'll try to write more.
I need
so
that
you don't
microphone
think
back, so.
No, it's mine now.
Oh, darn it.
John taught me how to use it, which side to talk out of, and now it's mine.
Now, if the light's on, no.
So wait a minute. As a guest, you actually got to do the Skype test and all that, or walk through any of the microphone tips and tricks and all that?
I just called in, and John said, "Oh," and I thought he was going to say what I desire so much. I missed you so much, but he said, "Oh, Megan, you are talking out of that microphone from the wrong side."
Once a professional podcaster.
And then he told me how much he missed me.
Well, we do miss you, Megan, and so happy to be able to get you on this show, if not as a host, but as a guest. And the good thing is, you're at 10 doing amazing work, and you as well. So we're going to have you back sometime, Megan Morrone.
Megan Morrone?
Morrone? Is that how you pronounce it? No, Megan Morrone.
That's the other thing. You don't have people mispronouncing your name so much when you can't hear
That's
it.
true,
It's
when we're the ones doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you. If people want to follow you online and check out your other work, how can they do so?
They can do so at 10.medium.com. That's where, and you can just search for me. Also Twitter, where I tweet out all the stories that I've written and all of our fabulous writers and editors have written. And that's, I'm at Megan Morrone on Twitter. I'm at Megan Morrone on Instagram. I'm at Megan Morrone everywhere. If there's something new, I usually try my best to be at Megan Morrone on it.
That makes sense.
Excellent.
TikTok even,
Yeah. Are you on TikTok?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I am.
All
I just look. I don't.
Yeah, I'm a, what is that called? A parasite.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
or a lurker.
That works too, but parasite's creepier.
Yeah.
A little bit.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Megan, for joining us, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Megan.
Okay.
Bye. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
All right, so we were just talking a little bit about Amazon, as well as professing how much we miss our dear co-host of the past, Megan Morrone. Dumpster divers are selling goods on Amazon. Did you know this?
No, not until I saw this article, at least.
Part of me is not surprised. The Wall Street Journal has an article that details how this business is run, and it might make you think twice about buying that jar of lemon curd from a third-party seller in the Amazon marketplace. So basically, I mean, whether people are familiar with this or not, when you go to Amazon and you buy products, there are a lot of products that are sold by Amazon, and then there are a lot of third-party sellers on there. That's a gigantic part of Amazon's business, and how their stock is always kept so full of literally almost anything you can think of. Something exists on the Amazon marketplace because there's third-party sellers all over the place filling in the gaps for the things that Amazon might or might not offer.
Do they offer banana curd?
Possibly. You search that while I set this up. So basically, these products can come from any number of places. And is there?
Tropical Fruit Stand Banana Jam and Mrs. Bridges Banoffee Curd, which is banana and I believe toffee.
Okay.
I might have to get some banoffee curd.
Okay, just make sure you're not getting it from a dumpster.
That's
the problem. You don't really know.
Oh, man.
So I'm sorry. I'm sorry to break it to you, Micah. That might be a bad idea. So basically, these third-party sellers source their products a number of different ways, right? A couple of years ago, I got really fascinated by how people were making money on Amazon. I was looking into it and I was like, oh, maybe I could do that. People go into thrift stores and they're just really good at locating products that are in thrift stores, or even large lots of rejects from certain stores. They get these lots delivered to them. They pull them apart. They find anything that's new. They put it up on the Amazon marketplace, and they end up making a bunch of money because they got that large lot for less than what they could sell it for a la carte, piece by piece. So sellers source these items in a number of different ways. One way is apparently dumpster diving, going into dumpsters, finding products that are still in new condition or that could be cleaned up to look as if they are in new condition.
God.
And then selling them on the Amazon marketplace. But prior to this investigation, Amazon had no policy that prohibited selling items found like this. After the investigation by the Wall Street Journal, they have put through a change to say that this is no longer okay. The problem is that the sheer number of these products coming in, humans are checking the quality of these things, but they can't possibly check every single thing. So it's kind of a combination of AI detection of, where these things are coming, who's sending it. Oh, they've got a history with this or whatever, along with humans identifying things. And I mean, at the end of the day, you just kind of don't know.
So this is when I shop with Amazon, to the best of my ability, I've done this plenty of times. I will, if I see a product that says ships from and sold by Amazon, then I feel good about buying that.
Yes.
I almost never get, even the ones that say fulfilled by Amazon, I almost never get, even though those ones are better, because essentially what happens there is a seller sends it to Amazon and Amazon is in charge of the distribution. And so when it gets sent to Amazon, Amazon does the inspection and stuff like that before it gets sold. So it's a little bit more backed. I will sometimes skip out on products if they're even just fulfilled by Amazon and try to look for one that's shipped from and sold by. So most of the stuff that I get is shipped from and sold by Amazon. But occasionally there are those products that are fulfilled by Amazon.
You just got to have.
I just don't go the rung below that.
Like the banana fee curd.
Or
the banafi or whatever.
Banoffee, I think.
Banoffee, there we go.
Banoffee. It's banana and coffee curd. I usually, though, or actually, no, I don't think I've ever. My family has a history of purchasing, my direct family. I'm sort of shaming my little brother as I'm saying this. A history of buying things from Amazon that are, just random things that come from who knows where and have like $7 shipping and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so those things I've never purchased on Amazon because at that point it's basically eBay and I don't do eBay.
Totally. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. We're also, I mean, I know I am. I'm an Amazon Prime member.
Yes.
And I assume you are as well. And when you are a Prime member, at least in my experience, for as long as I've been on Prime, like my brain is now trained to always look for Prime.
Yeah.
And if it's not Prime,
then I don't get it.
There's got to be some random weird reason that I still buy that product.
Yeah, if that happens, it's like a joke thing, or you know what I mean. That's very rare that I would never get something that's edible that is not Prime, not because of the 1-day shipping or 2-day shipping, but because I know then it's an eBay purchase basically from Amazon, and that weirds me out.
So as I read through this article and kind of about the pulling things out of a dumpster and then, it's good enough to sell, we'll clean it up, we'll get it ready, we'll send it out. It reminded me of a couple of years ago on All About Android when it was Android Oreo. And every single week for the entire 52 weeks, we brought a new, different flavor of Oreo.
You
onto
ate
the
dumpster
show.
cookies?
No, don't skip ahead.
Okay,
I don't
sorry.
know is the answer. But there were a couple. So we had to come up with 52 different Oreos, to taste. And so when I burnt through the obvious ones that you can get at the grocery store, then I had to start going online and shopping from Amazon and shopping from eBay. And there were yes. Well, sometimes look, 52 flavors. It's not easy. It's not easy to come up with 52 Oreos.
I mean, you're still here, so.
Yeah, I'm still alive. I did eat one of each of those cookies, but there were a couple of packages that when I got them, yes, it was still sealed, but the label was kind of crumpled up a little bit. Oh, there was one package that I got that was totally expired, 6 months expired. There was one package that was just filled with crumpled cookies. And now when I think about it, I think then I just thought it was rough in shipping, I guess.
No.
Now I'm thinking those were probably pulled from a dumpster.
You ate dumpster cookies.
I'm still alive.
Garbage cookies.
At least I'm still alive.
Cookie Monster was hanging out at Grouch's house, Oscar's house, and nom 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 nom.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Here are your cookies.
I'm happy I don't eat those Oreos anymore, especially the ones that were pulled out of a dumpster.
Wow. Garbage fire cookies.
Yes, basically.
That's horrible.
All right, yours has got to be better, more enlightening and inspiring.
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
You ever heard of photo roulette?
I'll pretend like I haven't because we talked about it yesterday.
We did.
No, what is that,
Wait,
Micah?
you mean we talk to each other off of the show?
This is the
so
only
strange.
time we talk to each other.
Yeah, we don't say words after the screen goes off. No, so photo roulette is this somehow popular game where you can invite up to 49 other people to play. And everybody who joins the game gives this app access to their photo album. So your camera roll, your photo album, whatever you want to call it. It's on Android, it's on iOS. And so say I play with the entire studio and I invite everybody to play. Everybody says, okay, I grant access to my photo album. Then you push a button and it spins around and then a photo pops up for 5 seconds. And what you have to do is guess where that photo came from, who among the people you've invited that photo came from. That's right. This game takes a photo randomly from people's, I just spit everywhere. This game takes a photo randomly from people's photo albums and will show it on screen for 5 seconds before it goes away, which is horrifying. Because some of us have photos of ourselves eating dumpster cookies, and nobody needs to see that.
No, that's the worst thing.
That's
that could
the worst
happen.
possible photo that you would have in your photo album, I'm sure. I mean, because right now, I certainly wouldn't give you my phone and say, here, go through my camera roll.
Right.
Because of the dumpster cookie eating.
Yep.
And I have a feeling that you would probably not want me to swipe through your photos either.
Well, that this was a thing years ago when someone would take your phone and be like, "Oh, show me that photo," and they take it and they just start swiping. Don't do that.
Yes.
It feels like a violation. I don't think that I have any photos on here that are anything other than my family, really. So I actually, if I played this game with someone who knew anyone in my family, it would be really easy for them to guess which photos were mine. But still, even though that still kind of feels like a violation, I would want to be in control of who sees what. I guess in essence, you are saying it's okay by installing the app on your phone and running it and participating in said game.
Right. And I think that's part of the quote unquote fun.
Right.
But here's the problem is that not everybody is thinking about it's a very upfront the risk and the fun of it could be interesting in the same way that like Snapchat, people are, oh, well, I can post whatever photo I want on here. It's going to go away.
Right.
It shows for 5 seconds. Anyone can take a screenshot of that. And then suddenly that photo is out there, to the world. And so they're talking, this Wall Street Journal article is talking about the difference between how adults are seeing this game and how kids are seeing this game, where it's like, oh, I want to play this game with my friends. That sounds fun. And then adults are kind of going, okay, but are you considering all of the potential risks? There was one young woman who she was playing the game, and a photo of her Social Security card came up on screen. And so whomever she was playing with had access to her Social Security number.
For 5 seconds.
For 5 seconds. And, it's likely that none of her friends were turning dead people into new people and selling Social Security numbers. But still, that's out there. Yep. And it might not have been something. I have photos of my driver's license in my phone that could pop up whenever I'm playing with somebody. So there are just these opportunities. Even if you don't have sort of risque photos in your photo library, there are still opportunities for things to be shown. I mean, if your family sent you information as well, sometimes, a parent would take a photo of a sensitive document or something, and you might have that in your photo album because of the way that, especially on iOS, the photo album is basically all of your photos. There are just different opportunities for risk here that you're not thinking of straight off. And I think that's what makes this app a little bit, again, we do, I don't look at it in the sense that, why did this game get approved? Why does it exist? Because you are opting in. You make the choice to play the game. But it's the idea that just like Snapchat or some other ephemeral messaging service, yes, you're making the choice to play the game. But if you're not thinking about potential consequences or thinking about certain photos in your photo library, then that's where the risk comes in.
And that might be the difference between the older generation, let's say, looking at this through one lens, which is like, oh my goodness, there's so much, possibility that the wrong photo ends up for everyone to see. And maybe the younger generation being like, but that's like the risk is part of the reward. Yeah. Right? Like, oh, isn't it going to be funny when that awkward photo, like anyone else that's probably playing that game is hoping that their weird, like their awkward photo doesn't show up, but they are definitely hoping that somebody else's does. Please, yes. And I imagine for kids who might get access to this game, that might actually be appealing. Yes. You know what I mean? So, I guess it's just a matter of education, because there's nothing outwardly wrong, I think, that this app is doing in and of itself. Right. It's not promising something and delivering something else. It's not surreptitiously sending this data that we know of to China or something like that. But there is awareness that should be built around like what the risks are when you go down this road.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what's interesting is that the free version of the game shows you random photos, but if you pay for the subscription version, then you get to pick the photo that you want to be included in the game, so that if your user if your username comes up, then it's the photo that you chose to be part of the game. So there are ways to sort of circumvent this for sure.
$4.99.
But $4.99, but it's still not great. And you have to be careful. So the one example was a gal was playing with her family, and she had taken, it was just a selfie of herself that she may have sent to friends or something like that. And her backside was sort of on display as she was looking over her shoulder at the mirror. And among friends, it's like, oh, you look so great. Those jeans look great on you. But then you have grandma and grandpa on there seeing you taking this photo where you're, perhaps showing off your assets, as it were. Then I wasn't trying to make a pun there.
I see what you did there.
Then that can be kind of like, oh no, I didn't think about that. So the problem, I think, there is you don't want to have a wake-up call that way. You want to sort of go into this knowing what's going on. And if your friends are playing this game and you're like, what's this game? Oh, I want to play. You download it, you opt in, and then suddenly some photo you did not really want everybody to see is on there. That's a problem.
I would be, now that I think about it, I would be really curious to know how this app both on Android and on iOS, because it's probably a little bit differently based on kind of like privacy structure of the different OSs. How and what this app actually has access to from an image repository standpoint. Is it only pulling from your camera roll, or does it have insight into the files where photos from other apps reside, and those become fair game? Because if it's just your camera roll, you could think, I'm in the clear. I know that, like I don't take pictures that I wouldn't want others to see, so whatever. But I know on some apps that I've run on Android, when you look at like the images that it has access to, it's not just my camera roll. Mm-hmm. It's photos that I've received through, a chat in WhatsApp. It's photos that I've received or sent through, my messages on Hangouts or wherever it's coming from. And that could potentially get you into trouble if you don't know where that's actually coming from. Yeah. Maybe that's an Android thing versus an iOS.
I was going to say, with iOS, unfortunately, there's not a file system in the same way. Your camera roll is all of your photos across all apps, across all services. They've only just made it so that there's a separate sort of file system where some photos can exist. Yeah. But up to this point, for as long as iPhone has been a thing, regardless of where you take photos, no matter the app or whatever, it all goes into your camera roll. So that's all the photos across everything. Whenever you tap, okay, I want to give this app access to my photos.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the funny thing. I think I talked about this yesterday too. If I was playing, due to the sort of chance and ratios and things like that, there's a very good chance that all you'd see is some screenshot of an app, because I wrote about apps for years, and so there are just hundreds and hundreds of screenshots in my phone. Yeah. So it'd be very boring because they'd be able to guess right away, oh, that's Mikah. Oh, that's Mikah.
Oh, yeah, it's a screenshot of an app. Yeah, that's probably Mikah.
So anyway, just be mindful, and it's certainly, I understand how, like you said, the risk can be part of the reward there, where it's kind of funny if there's an embarrassing text exchange was one example that someone said, oh man, I took a screenshot of this awkward text exchange and that popped up.
Now everybody sees it.
Now everybody sees it. Yeah.
Maybe not the app to play with your family after your like Christmas dinner.
Correct.
This holiday season.
Yeah. Well, actually wait until after the Christmas dinner, because at least then you can run away. Don't do it before, because then you have to have dinner with everybody.
That's true. That could be an awkward
and then everybody's just
dinner time conversation.
Silently eating.
All right, we're giving you really like useful tips for your life, so I hope you appreciate that. Tech News Weekly publishes every Thursday at twit.tv/TNW. That's where you can go to subscribe to the show in audio and video formats. Next week is our best of. Yeah. So we've picked out a couple of great interviews from throughout the year to kind of round out the year. So we won't have a live show next week. You will get an episode in your feed, and then the following week we'll be back and ready to go.
Ready to roll. You can, of course, be part of the show by emailing us at tnw@twit.tv. And you can follow us on social media. That's at Twit on Twitter. That's at twit.tv on Instagram. And that's at Twit Talk on TikTok. You can also follow me if you want to, and tweet at me at Mikah Sargent.
And me, I'm at Jason Howell. Thanks to everyone who helps us do the show each and every week. We've got Jeff, John, Burke, and Laura, who's sitting in and watching us today. It's good to have you on board as a fellow twit. And to you for watching each and every week. We appreciate y'all. And thank you for joining us once again. Have a happy holiday. And we'll see you live in a couple of weeks on Tech News Weekly. Take care, everybody.